发表扣的衣服，必须要比就把人。
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Ross?
Here.
Commissioner Boyle?
Here.
Commissioner Dustin?
Here.
Commissioner Okazaki?
Here.
Commissioner Sue?
Here.
All present.
Thank you for attending May 22nd Planning Commission meeting. Before the meeting, I have something to announce. For the procedures, each commissioner has received plans and staff comments and has reviewed every item on the agenda and visited each site. General order to hearing each case will be as follows. 1. The staff will discuss the case and provide background information and with a recommendation. 2. I will ask the applicant or the applicant's representative to comment on the proposal. The hearing will then be open to the public, and I will ask for comments for, against, and about the project. In all cases, please come forward and give your name and address. Can you be quiet? If you need to speak, please go outside. Thank you. When speaking on an item, please do not repeat comments previously made, but rather acknowledge agreement with previous speakers. However, please present any additional comments. At the conclusion of the public comments, the public hearing will be closed, and I will then ask for comments from each of the commissioners. Most of the cases will involve variance, CUP, and design review. The commission will discuss and act on each one individually. In each case, variances will be considered first, then CUP, finally design review. If there's no motion for approval or denial, the planning commission has the option to continue the application to a future meeting. In the event of a continuance or denial, it is hoped that the applicant will have heard the comments during the public comment period and during deliberations that will be useful in resubmitting an application. 3. It is important for the property owner to understand that once the project is approved by the commission, the drawings become legal documents. If any changes are made to the project subsequent to approval without obtaining proper approval of those changes, then the property owner is in fact breaking the law. There is risk of having to change the project back to the original approved design or paying a fine to the city of San Marino equal to the greater of 5% of the project value or 2,500, and then resubmitting the change made to the project to the commission. 4. It is also important to understand that there is a 15-day appeal period after action has been taken for the application, and any interest party to request the city council to review and act on the case. 5. The commission will usually take items in the order shown on the agenda, but occasionally it will take them out of order if there are a large number of people here on one item. That item might be taken ahead of others as a courtesy to those present. 6. The commission will not start a new item after 11 p.m. Items are not heard will be carried over to an adjourned meeting or next regular meeting. So with this, I will open to the first case. That is Christine?
Thank you, Commissioner.
Oh, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak during the public comment session?
Oh, that's a public comment.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Anyone wish to speak during the public comment session? Hearing none. Okay, let's proceed with item number 1, the agenda. Christine, please have the staff report.
Thank you, Commissioner. Item number 1 is conditional use permit CUP 18-18, located at 1045 Rosalind Road. The applicant is proposing to construct a new tennis court with fencing and lighting. This requires 1 conditional use permit. The project is exempt from CEQA. The subject property is improved with a 2-story residence, a detached 3-car garage, a 1-story guest house, and a swimming pool with a waterfall feature. The applicant is proposing to demolish the swimming pool and waterfall to accommodate the new tennis court, and the new tennis court would be 7,200 square feet in size and will be enclosed by a 10-foot tall chain link fence coated in green vinyl. The applicant will also be installing 8 lighting fixtures on the poles that are 20 feet tall around the perimeter of the court. Staff doesn't anticipate any detrimental impacts to the neighborhood or community as a result of the project, as tennis courts are a common feature found on many properties within a 500-foot radius of the site. Staff finds that the project is compatible with the property and is compliant with all code requirements. And at this time, staff recommends approval of the project subject to the conditions of approval attached to the staff report. This concludes the staff presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Any questions about the staff report? Go ahead.
I didn't see any tally of neighbors as far as their feelings on the project.
The application was not subject to design review action, which is why the neighbor letters were not provided.
So neighbors are only notified for a design review. Okay.
Materials.
I'm curious to know, and maybe this is something for the applicant to answer, are the drawings to scale? Meaning, is this house, the size of this house is to scale compared to the tennis court? It is?
It is.
Okay. And then, I guess, since there does seem to be a lot of construction going on, and I know that obviously that had to have been done with a prior DRC approval or planning commission approval, and did that come with a landscape approval that we're not privy to? Because there's also a comment about how a landscape plan is part of the conditions, I think. Am I right about that? It says, why did I think that I saw that there was going to be a landscape plan?
Yes, you're right. There are a couple conditions related to a tree protection plan as well as a landscape plan, because they would be disturbing a significant amount of soil to construct the tennis court.
Okay.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Does the owner know that the architect, that the street name was misspelled in the application? Just want to point out the A and the I was switched.
I think it was a typo.
Sounds like it.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, anyone from the owner wish to speak? Please say your name and address.
I'm Ben Lundgren, 2605 Fairfield Pike in San Marino, landscape architectural job. We're proposing a tennis court, legal size, full-size court. The swimming pool and waterfall will be demolished, and a new swimming pool will, at a later date, will be designed closer to the home on the house side of the tennis court. The tennis court is presently in a valley, as you know. It's below street level. And the screening behind the tennis court is going to be polycarpets, which will go up to 25 feet, which is about 5 feet higher than the highest light pole. The fencing will be 10 feet tall and with a 6-foot-high green screen all the way around, as per code. The owners and we're working with an arborist to make sure that the trees are not damaged. His name is Javier Cabral, and he has a full tree inventory and report available also. Adjacent next door, they have a tennis court with lights. The tennis court right behind them is the brand new building that they built for the last 10 years. They also have a tennis court right there adjacent to the property line. And I believe that they are in the process of trying to get lights. And there are several courts in that 500 radius that also have tennis courts with lights. Any questions?
Any questions? Okay. No, thank you, Ben. Anyone in the audience wish to speak for, against, or about the project? See now, close the public hearing and the commissioner will discuss among ourselves. To begin with, John.
I don't really per se have any objections to the proposal. I'm just kind of surprised that neighbors don't have to be notified, because I'd want to know if I had a tennis court living next door to me. But there are several tennis courts, I think, that are much more open and obvious immediately adjacent to this property that exists already in the neighborhood. This tennis court has the unique feature of being in a very deep pit. I'm sure the lights will probably barely be above street level when they're installed. My only concern, I'm glad about the podocarpus screen. I think that's going to do a good job of shielding neighbors from light. I just think it's important that the oak trees, they provide a really good canopy, because there's a lot of ambient light that gets reflected off of a court like this and can light up the neighborhood. So I think it's important to keep that tree canopy intact, particularly the oaks on the north, or I'm sorry, on the south side of the court. But basically, I don't really have any problems with this proposal.
Thank you, John. I think a lot of commissioner has question about why the neighbors are not.
Yeah, let me clarify that. The neighbors are notified via 300-foot radius mailer of this application. So because there isn't a design review action, there is a need to submit those extra documents that allow for the objection or oppose, that kind of a process.
Okay, that makes me feel a lot better.
Yeah,
so they know about it, but they're not being solicited for comment.
No. So there is a public hearing notice published in the newspaper, as well as a 300-foot radius.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Alder. Thank you, John. So, Ben?
The question I wanted to know is, so is there going to be a separate, you said, a plan for a new pool that's going to be submitted later on?
Wow.
Because you're taking, is that what I understand?
Well, first I'll say that the public hearing process is closed, so this is the Planning Commission deliberation. We can certainly open up the public session if you choose to ask questions of the
Yeah,
applicant.
sorry about that, yeah, okay,
We just talked about the plans submitted.
I was concerned about the removal of the pool and so forth, and the work related to that. If there was condition on the construction of or deconstruction of the pool that goes with the installation of the pool and the hours of operation of the construction of the pool, if those were separate requirements that's going to be given when the permit is issued, rather than part of the approval of the plan. And also hours of operation. Is that something that, that's a standard, or is it something unique to each property?
No, the hours of construction are general, they're for every project.
I think he was
I
referring
meant
to the
the-
hours of operation, that you can have the lights on.
Oh, sorry.
And the,
It is code.
It
Code,
is, okay.
yes.
And they can play in the dark if they want.
Yeah, but that, I was worried about the noise. Okay, it is, everything's coming.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Thank you, Ben.
As I said, my comment is that this, I don't have any problem with the tennis court being located totally kind of hidden within their property. I think it's a good use of the property to do something like that. But I was curious, and I hope we get a chance to review when the pool and the other jacuzzi, whatever, is going to be submitted. I want to know where it's going to be installed as part of this property. I would be curious to know that. Yeah.
Thank you, Ben. Julie?
So the reason why I was asking if the drawings were to scale is because, in my opinion, and I haven't reviewed a lot of tennis courts in the past, but this tennis court is larger than the footprint of the home. And if this is to scale, which the architect says that it is, and it just seems really out of proportion and huge, and I understand that it's kind of deep set, you know, in I don't want to say subterranean, but it's at a lower level. But this is a large piece of, this will end up being a large piece of property that is completely cement, and as I said, it's the same size as the house. And that gives me a lot of pause for concern about, I understand that other neighbors in the area have tennis courts. I understand that this isn't going to be a detriment to that, but in terms of this particular property, I think that it's very inconsistent in terms of an exterior design plan.
Yeah, thank you, Julie.
Okay, I was somewhat amazed, as Shelley was, by the smallness of the house, actually, which is undergoing quite a bit of renovation. But standing right where the court would be and looking about, you could see that it was definitely below the street level. And that the neighbor to the west, I guess, would be quite a bit higher. They actually have windows looking down on that court and the whole swimming pool area. But as far as I could read about the lighting, there is no illumination that would escape going upwards. It's all directed downward, and they need some nice lumen readings, I guess, so they could control that. Anyway, I have no objection to any of the features that were being offered here. It looks like a complete plan. There's certainly enough room there for it. I was hiking around there that seemed like it was like 4 yards, but I guess that's what the properties are like at that area. Okay, no objection.
Thank you, Monty. Me too, I don't have any objections. I concur with the staff report. So, do I have any more?
Could I just ask a quick question of staff? I noticed on the plans it says, in the event that an illuminated court surface is visible from another lot, the court surface shall be treated with a low reflectance, dark colored coating. Is that something that you wait until a neighbor says, hey, the lights are on now for the first time and they bother me? You have to coat your court, or do they do that?
Well, there's two options you have available. Is you can condition that, and that condition would ensure that prior to a final sign-off, we would require testing to ensure that that provision is satisfied. The other option would be to not have the condition and wait, as you mentioned, a neighbor calling it out and resulting in further investigation by the city. I would feel more comfortable with a condition
Prior to.
Okay. That way at final inspection, we can require that there's some assurance that there isn't that reflection issue.
Because my issue with the light from a recreational court like this is not so much, I mean, I did some research on these lights, and they are actually amazingly well engineered to control dispersal away from the court. But I'm just worried about reflected light coming off the court surface itself. So if it, the plans show blue court surface, like, the high school has a dark blue court surface, which is probably not very reflective, but I don't know that that's stipulated in the plans that they're actually going to use a blue surface like that. So I think I would be comfortable if we conditioned that.
Maybe you can.
All right, I'll make a motion.
Well, wait, can I
Oh,
just
yes,
make a
go
comment
ahead.
about, I just want to put it out there, I don't know if this is our position to talk about this, but if we are requiring them to darken the surface, we are now creating a space in which more heat will be absorbed. And we are, and now you're gonna have this extremely, like, I'm not a climatologist, I'm not environmental,
Yeah.
but, if you're gonna have this dark 7,200 square foot space that is now darkened to not allow for reflective light, you're just contributing to, just terrible conditions in terms of the heat that's gonna be generated in that area. And I'm only saying that from a standpoint of like, I feel like we as a city can use this as an opportunity to start talking about sustainability and what we're gonna require some of our residents to do. And I know that this is not the time to do it, but I just think that it's something that we really need to think of when we're agreeing to these things, that there is gonna be a potential in terms of this family's now gonna probably have to run their AC more. They're gonna have to, which is gonna put more heat into the environment. And I think that it's just, there's just problems with it for me.
Okay.
So again, that's not necessarily our, like, anything that we're supposed to be discussing necessarily, but I think that it's something that we need to consider and maybe ask for the city council, whomever, to start talking about surface materials and that kind of stuff that we can use that is gonna have less of an impact on our community and our planet.
And I share that concern, because I'm a particular fanatic when it comes to over hardscaping a rear yard as well. It's a little hard for me though when it's, the hardscape is tied to a specific use that is necessary for that purpose. So
Yeah.
But I don't know of any, I'm not an expert on the availability of court surfaces.
Maybe we can check with
well,
the staff.
and-
Do you have any experience?
No, I was just going to mention that I truly appreciate that level of evaluation. Coming from someone with some background in LEED certification, I really appreciate that level of looking at this. Unfortunately, in this situation, we are tied to really those findings for the CUP. And so unless you can tie sort of an impact to heat and heat absorption to the CUP findings, I don't see how we can sort of look at that at the moment for this project. But it's certainly a conversation that I would love to have moving forward.
It's on the record now too, so that's good.
I didn't see anything in on the plans or in the application material that specified the court surface the applicant intends to use. Is that something we can ask, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, it will be on the final drawing. Once the tennis court is approved, all that will be spelled out on the drawing itself of type of material. The court surface is basically the same as what San Marino has, blue,
At the Lacey Park.
at Lacey Park,
Okay.
So would everybody be comfortable then maybe making the condition one that we direct staff to attend to the issue of reflected light and heat and to make a choice that best compromises those qualities. And let
How
them,
would you word that? You can make it.
like that. And we'll basically leave it up to staff to sort of, they'll get the final documents with the court surfacing material specified. They could look up, in the manufacturer's brochure to see if there's any information available about putting back heat into the environment versus light back into the environment, that kind of thing.
Let's
But
not,
I mean, to Shelley's point, heat is something that gets put back every day the sun is shining, whereas the light is only there when the court is being used at night.
Right.
So,
It's just that when you have a huge surface that is, especially a dark surface, absorbing all of that heat.
Right.
Honestly, what my bigger concern is not, I don't live there. I'm not gonna be walking on the
well,
court.
as soon as you
feeling
said that, I started thinking
feeling
about
that
the
it's-
trees.
Yeah, so you have the trees, but then also I'm not gonna be playing tennis on an 80-degree day where the court feels like 110. So it's not, what I'm more concerned with is it's the ripple effect that when, somebody will then turn their AC on, and the whole way that AC works is to bring cold air in. You're sucking, you're expelling hot air out, and you're increasing the temperature now around the whole environment. And it just becomes a perfect storm. So, I knew that there was nothing that we could particularly vote on with regards to this, that we are limited to the CUP. I just really wanted to make it, I wanted to bring it up because I think that it's something we as a community need to start thinking about. What is our impact going to be on our changing world?
I can start doing that
Yeah.
research to figure out how we can manage these types of projects. As far as a condition of approval on the lighting, you can certainly add a condition of approval on the lighting glare situation with reflection is what I'm mentioning. But I would like any condition to that effect to start with prior to final inspection.
Okay.
The applicant shall provide evidence of. Anyways, I can't make the condition, so.
Right, let me take a stab at a motion then.
can we just leave it up to you and not put a condition on it? You can't do it?
No.
We have to put on here right now, before we make the motion.
I'll make a motion, I'm losing the number here.
CUP 18-18.
18.
I'll make a motion to approve
18, yeah.
CUP 18-18 at 1045 Roslyn Road, with the standard conditions noted in the agenda report, and the additional condition that prior to issuance of the final building permit, that staff will review the proposed court surfacing material, and upon finding that it is suitable in terms of controlling reflective light, they can accept that material.
Okay.
I second.
Okay, I have the motion and second. Anyone, anyone agree, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No, yes, I oppose.
Maybe you can make the roll call and say.
That's good. We make it vote.
Commissioner Ross,
Aye.
Commissioner Boyle,
No.
Commissioner Dustin,
Yes.
Commissioner Okazaki,
Yes.
Commissioner Sue,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to item number 2. There is under B 18-5, design review case, ERC 18-96, 18-97, 18-98, 2650 William Ford Road. Can I have the staff report?
Thank you, Commissioner. The applicant requests to construct a street-facing block wall, a new driveway gate with pilasters, a pedestrian gate, and a swimming pool enclosure fence with less than the required setbacks. The proposal includes a request to construct a new trellis at the rear of the existing one-story residence as well. This requires 1 variance and 3 design review actions, and the project is exempt from CEQA. The subject property is improved with a 1-story residence, a detached 2-car garage, and a swimming pool. The homeowner would like to replace an existing non-conforming 6-foot block wall facing Shakespeare Drive, and current city code would only allow for a maximum height of 4 feet without the 20-foot setback that is required. The proposed swimming pool enclosure does not meet the 20-foot setback and is subject to a variance request due to the 5-foot height, which is required by state law for a pool barrier. Staff is able to make all the findings to support the variance. The pool enclosure fence would serve as a necessary safety measure to restrict access to the pool, and alternatively, there is no other feasible method of meeting the pool barrier requirement on the project site. Staff is also able to make the design review findings in that the proposed block wall, driveway gate, and pedestrian gate are compatible with the residents as well as the neighborhood, and the proposed trellis would be an appropriate addition to the property as it is a feature found in other properties in the legal neighborhood as well. And staff recommends approval of the project subject to the conditions of approval in the staff report. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Any questions for the staff?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank you.
I was wondering if you knew that there's an existing block wall closer to the house, right? Not at the driveway. It wasn't clear to me. Were you clear if they're going to demolish that when they put this new one in, or
It's gone.
it's gone on the plan?
Yeah, I believe it's already been demolished. It was falling apart, and so during construction and remodeling that's ongoing on the property, I think it was demolished by accident.
I have a question. When was the permit issued for the remodel that is currently being done on the house?
I don't have an exact date for you, but I believe it was sometime late last year.
Really? Wow. Okay. My impression is that that house has been under construction for a very extended period of time, to the point of being a nuisance. Okay.
Any other questions from the staff? Okay. Anyone from the owner's representative or the architect is here?
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioner. My name is Freeman Han. I'm architect for this project. I'd like to answer John's question. And the permit was issued maybe early last year. Right?
Yeah, I believe it was originally issued 2 years ago, but we had to stop the project for extended hearing. And after the hearing, the permit was issued probably in March or June or April last year.
Excuse me, are you the owner? Can you say your name and
Yes, I
address?
will. Yeah, I will.
Can you come forward to the
Sure.
podium?
My name is James Chiangma. I'm the owner of the property at 2650 Washington Road. I share with this commissioner that the project has been going on too long, but it was totally out of control. We had to change the constructor. We went through many problems, but we tried as hard as possible to follow to comply with the city codes.
I conclude probably they originally got permit 2 years ago, but maybe doing the construction, maybe some kind of violation then, and the city said, oh, need to go through the hearing. I remember the last year, John was the design review, he wanted the block wall. So that's the final get the permit for the entire house. It's not very far. Oh, yeah.
So your permit has been extended once?
Yes, it has been extended,
Yeah.
and the construction has been underway. Hopefully it will be finished in 3 or 4 months.
Okay.
We were out of house for more than 2 years.
Yeah, and I want to start my job. And this, normally like the corner property. And original architect design like the house along the street side, so keep the interior more privacy. But this case is reversed. They make the wide open and on the street facing the side. So that's why we have existing 6 feet high and concrete block wall along the street side. Unfortunately, and the block wall is fell down, and during the big storm, the block wall cannot even resist the wind pressure, and once when the college all fell down, we found there's no rebar at all. So now we propose no more non-conforming 6 feet high block wall. We replace with 4 feet high, and the existing bushes is oleander is poison, and it's amazing. So it's going to replace. We have put the fibers along the new block wall. So fibers they grow fast, and they're easy to take care, and it's very firm, and you can shave and keep certain height. So that's we propose the new block wall and the new hedge along the new fence. And the existing, you can see the existing pallets we're going to load down to consistent with the new 4 feet high block wall, and no more the exterior lighting over the pallets. And since the 6 feet block was to be replaced, so there's no more protection for the swimming pool. So we involved the variance and make it 5 feet high rod iron fence along the swimming pool. And the last item is the trellis, because the trellis is placed on the south side of the house, so we can keep the shade for the big patio door, and also it's a feature. This lot is kind of very big, so it's a pool and the trellis. This I think is okay for this property, and I like to be here to answer questions.
Now, Commissioner, any questions for the designer? Okay, you have a question?
Yeah, so the 4-foot wall is 12 feet from the curb, and looking at the plan, that means that the wall is only 4 feet high. Should I say, relative to the street level, it's only 4 feet high, which is a hill there, right? So looking at the plan.
4 feet high is from the lowest, whatever the existing grading.
Yeah, so that.
Existing grading, the lowest point.
So because I didn't have a tape measure, so I couldn't figure out exactly what 12 feet was, but I guess it's in the flat area of that side street.
Right, you know.
Okay.
Right.
And so, okay. And you're okay with the 4 foot, huh?
But because we have a hedge,
Yeah, you're gonna put
a hedge,
6
so
foot,
we can
8
keep
foot tall ficus.
6 feet,
Yeah.
6 feet high. Fibers, yeah. So still keep privacy for the resident.
Yeah, I've seen that done in a lot of places. Okay, all right, thank you.
I just have one quick question. On the plans, you specify that the fencing for the driveway gate and the fencing around the pool, et cetera, is wrought iron. On the detail, it talks about the top vertical tube and the segment vertical, or I'm sorry, the top horizontal tube is 2 inches. It's a tube, and then I'm sorry. 1.5 square inch top horizontal tube and a 2-inch vertical tube between the segments of the rail. But the majority of the vertical railings, that is going to be wrought iron, correct?
Yeah, wrought
Okay.
iron.
I just wanted to make sure about that.
Okay, any other questions? Now, okay, please. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I actually had a question for staff though, too.
Go ahead.
And now it just went right out of my head. I know what it was. The side of the property along Shakespeare, that's considered a side yard, correct?
I think so.
What is the maximum maximum height of a hedge that can be maintained in a side yard in that neighborhood? 12 feet or?
No. not really.
4 feet.
4 feet? Really?
Yeah.
Wow, I see hedges way higher than that. on
Wait,
the-
so
Well-
this ficus can only be 4 feet?
So the reason
Wall
why,
is 4 and the pike is gonna be
Is it cool?
6, I thought.
Yeah, actually, 6.
Right, but we, sorry, did I misunderstand what you're asking?
No.
So along that, though,
Yeah.
it's saying that that
Correction.
should only be 4
Uh-huh.
feet.
it's for a solid permanent wall is 4 feet, but as far as a hedge, it can grow as high as it wants.
Oh,
Tree could be.
Unlimited.
Yeah,
wow.
Oh,
that's what we see all over.
well, I don't agree with that. Okay.
Yeah, there's a provision in the law that, like, for a key lot situation like this, where you have a rear yard abutting a front yard, there's a provision that keeps walls to no more than 4 feet. But
yeah.
it addresses walls and fences. Unfortunately, hedges is not in that code section.
So it doesn't say you can grow a hedge as high as you want, it just doesn't speak to it.
It just doesn't speak to it, yeah.
Okay. All right. That's all.
Yeah. Any more questions?
Yes, is there a way that a 5-foot wall can be constructed with some limited opacity? I don't know how, is that what the condition is on a 4-foot wall, that it is, because it is solid and can only be 4 feet? My point is, it would solve a lot of problems with around the pool if the wall could be 5 feet. But I guess the rules say no.
Right, so that would be subject to an additional variance if they
Yeah,
wanted to
we're doing
exceed.
that already with 3 of them, so. Anyway, a 4-foot wall just doesn't seem adequate in the front yard.
I agree. You know, you're gonna be able to see the 5-foot wrought iron fencing around the pool easily from the street.
Yeah, that'll be shown over the top.
Yeah,
Well, the hedge will keep.
Not with the hedge.
Yeah.
even with the hedge, I think we see it.
It would be 6 feet.
I know, but that pool, well, at least I mean, have you estimated what the height of the wrought iron fencing would be? I thought it would be about
5 feet.
Yeah.
almost 10 feet high from the street level. Because it's 5 feet where the pool is, right? That pool is high. It's on top of the
It's
hill.
on the same
2
elevation.
feet, 2 feet high, it's not 10 feet. 7. But you won't see it. You don't see it because it's very far away to the curb.
Yeah, but that slope was pretty high where the pool was. I thought it was about a
He said 2 feet.
4 to 5 foot difference between the curb and the, you said only 2 feet?
Yeah,
So
I
two feet?
will show the
Okay.
He said 2 feet.
Okay, what is that?
here.
I don't see that dimension.
The topography.
You can see this is 4 feet, this is probably 2 feet.
This is 4 feet.
Yeah, but is that the scale?
Yeah, it is scale.
So it is-
It is 4 feet, so it is half. But it's very far away, the pool is very far away to the street. You won't see it.
Well, you know, you got 2 feet, then you're gonna have a 5-foot fence, so this is gonna be 7 feet, then you're, yeah.
Yeah,
It looks like the
yeah, I know we have a hedge.
pool is 4 feet higher than the street level.
That's what I thought, he said, no, it's only 2 feet.
Plus curve maybe 6 inch curve. I didn't.
Yeah, I know, it's
Yeah,
only 6 inch.
6 inch, yeah.
But it
This
just-
is 2 feet,
Yeah,
yeah.
Well, it's 99 and a third, you know, at the pool, the height. And then the pool is 103.48. I mean, that's almost 4 feet.
That's what I thought. I
And
thought it
so-
was higher. So 4 feet
And
plus
then you're gonna have a 5
5
foot
feet, that's
fence
9
on-
feet, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so I think
I
you
didn't
see
think
it
there
from the
was that
street.
much elevation difference, but the topog map says it, that's what it is.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it was more than 2 feet. You're saying it's 4 feet, so.
Well,
But if they don't care, I also agree that, Ross, that 5-foot fence would make sense.
it would solve the problem of having a higher fence around it.
The existing fence is how tall?
6,
The existing block wall is
Well,
how tall?
it's,
Six feet.
it was,
No, some of it is still there.
is it? I didn't.
That's what I noticed. It was 6 feet.
yes.
Yeah.
See, they had a 6-foot fence before, and it was way up there, so it was like 10 feet from the street level. Now they're gonna reduce it down to only 4 feet, plus the fence in front. I mean, I don't care if they don't care, but if I was the owner of the place, I would want more privacy. Because I think standing, not naked, but with the radius to the top of the pool, I think I could be seen.
Yeah, looks like it too.
Okay, any other questions? So anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against or about the project? Please step forward, say your name and address.
Hi, good evening, John Ryan, 1385 Bellwood Road. I live maybe a half mile from there. I walk my dog in that neighborhood. I'm very familiar with the neighborhood. The problem I have with this project is not so much what's before you, but the fact it's been going on, this project's been sitting for a couple of years at least, and it is an eyesore. And the fact that there are 2 mature pine trees on the one on the northwest corner of Shakespeare and Wallingford, and one on the northeastern corner of the property, both that are dead now. Both are at least 30 to 40 feet tall, and due to the lack of care of them on the property, they're both dead. And we're talking about at least 30-year-old trees that need to be replaced now. And one of which, the one on the northeast corner of the property is a safety hazard. It's gonna fall over soon.
Yeah. It's
So
the tallest one, it's probably 50 feet.
yeah, it's very tall, but they're both dead, and it's the result of this property, of inaction on this project. No watering, so I think, I hope you address that. Thank you.
If I may,
Can owner address that?
as a matter of fact, I believe those dead trees are pine trees, not palm trees.
You're right, it's a pine tree.
Pine trees. They
I
are-
said pine tree.
There's a
It's
palm
not,
tree there.
I misheard you, it's pine trees. We just had a meeting with the city inspector, as a matter of fact, yesterday. We agreed that we remove the trees, and they decided, both decided, the cost of the trees are the beetle bugs, the bark beetles, and the drought. We have many similar situations in the city. We have bigger trees along Huntington Drive. We have other dead tree, pine trees in the area, almost on a lot of properties. As I said, however, we will start processing to apply to remove the trees.
And
We
you
realize
don't-
trees are dead. We realize the trees are dead. We are in the process. Now it takes a lot of time to apply, to get approval and remove the trees.
And then you have to replace by 2 big trees.
The city inspector says there is a kind of conversion. We cannot grow the same kind of tree on the same spot because of various reasons. But we will talk with them, see what we should do to replace the trees with other different kind of smaller trees. That's what we will do.
Okay. Do you have any questions, Commissioner? Please now, okay, I'll close the public hearing session. We'll discuss among ourselves. Ben, you're the first one to go.
I think you heard my concern that the block wall seemed too low, but I'm okay with moving the project along as it is, as long as the owners are okay with it. And I think the tree issue is something that the city seems like they're over addressing it, and they'll mitigate the dead trees, removal and hopefully replacement with a acceptable type of tree. So I'm okay with the fencing as proposed. It's recommended by staff. Yeah.
Julie?
As unideal as this fence is, I think I don't have any issues with it. I think that the biggest thing that I was going to come to the table with was, and I think everybody here, the 2 trees on the property. The plans say that that all the landscape would remain the same, but unfortunately these 2 trees have they've been neglected, and they were really gorgeous, and it's really, really tragic that we're about to lose 2 40+ some odd trees. And I trust that the city will follow our preservation tree ordinance and make sure that everything is done to code and that they get replaced appropriately.
Our tree preservation ordinances, I think, are just passed, and so most likely there isn't any case for these trees and their neglect. But it certainly is something I think that will be looked at in the future, because it's unacceptable, as I see it, to have a tree die, if not from the bark beetle, which seems a little bit, if you water, you don't have a problem with bark beetles. Anyway, I'm okay with the proposal and the variances and conditions. I think that it'd be nice if we interjected some condition that the trees would be replaced with something of a size that would give it back what it had before. And other than that, the wall is too low, but that's nothing that I don't think the owner is worried about, so I'm not going to worry about it.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, just is the question about, putting in a condition about the trees, is that handled here right now, or is that something that would be done as a part of whatever is happening with, I'm assuming it's Ron who's been doing
Yeah,
it?
I was going to interject a bit here. I'm not aware of any inspection that was done on these 2 trees or this situation, period. For all I know, this could be a code enforcement issue where trees were neglected, and as part of our ordinance, if a tree is neglected, ultimately dying, that's a violation of our laws. So I have to look into that. But as far as the question as to the condition, if the applicant agrees to that condition, we can make that work.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, I live in this neighborhood. I also walk by this house pretty much every day. I was very glad to see activity on the site because it has been completely dead for a long time and no work had been done. So I'm glad to see that they're moving ahead with it. This proposal for the wall and the gate, I like it. I'm glad to see they're reducing the size of the pilasters. They were just way overbearing. The light fixtures that they're proposing are an improvement. Getting rid of the oleander and putting in the ficus is an improvement. But I do also share grave concerns with my colleagues regarding the trees. And also some of the, I have an issue with some of the landscaping that's being proposed. So one is the row of ficus, the ficus hedge. Although I think it's a good solution and it's superior to the existing oleander, I would not want to see that become a 12-foot, 20-foot high wall of green. It would look inappropriate in that neighborhood and it would just be off-putting and uninviting to be driving by or walking by that. So I would like to see some sort of a condition limiting the maximum height of that ficus hedge. And then secondly, this is a little more problematic for me because I also was deeply disturbed to see those 2 trees die. I agree with Monty. Yes, bark beetles come, you can't stop them, but if you are caring for your tree and watering it vigorously, it is able to defend itself much better against bark beetle. And these trees have basically not seen a drop of water in years. And yes, we have a drought, but we also have water in pipes, and that's what it's for. So my concern with conditioning a tree, and I do think there needs to be a condition to replace these trees, the difficulty I have is that there's a loophole that I see frequently in the neighborhood and in the city. We can say you have to plant a tree of a certain box size. We can say you have to plant a tree of a certain species that we know, if left to its own, will grow to a full height that we would like to see. I see people putting in 36-inch box olive trees, and they just keep trimming them and trimming them and trimming them, and they will keep them a shrub in the front of the house. That's not what we want to see. And I don't know, I'd love to hear a way that we could get around that, because it's, I mean, once it's, you say 36-inch box, they put it in the ground and they get their sign off, we don't have any way of controlling.
Well, and I was gonna ask, what's more impactful at this juncture? Is it to put a condition in terms of this particular agenda item, or is it to have it go through code enforcement? And
It's going to be, sorry, it's going to be both. So, because I'm not aware of the conditions of these 2 trees as far as an inspection that took place. And so I would like the opportunity to go out there and take a look. I know this project's been going on for a while. There's been violations. There's been delays on this property. I would consider both a condition as well as code enforcement is going to be, or at least an inspection is going to be a given. And as part of that process, there could be fines or there could be a requirement to replace those 2 trees. But that I don't know. So I would recommend that as part of this project that you add the conditions about the replacement of the trees.
And just another question that came up in my mind since you were saying that, is there value in us continuing this agenda item until the inspection can happen?
Or until you can talk to Ron and find out.
Yeah.
what-
That's possible, yes.
Sure. These, I don't need them. Might help you.
I mean, I don't know.
I like that idea.
That is an
I
option.
mean, I'm just
Giving
saying,
him
like, I
the
feel like we
opportunity
need
to
some-
consult before
Yeah.
we,
And get more
Yeah.
information
What's a few more
about.
days? Yeah.
That's fine.
May I ask, when the applicant specifies a ficus, do you look at what kind of ficus is being installed? There are
Oh, there's a ton.
different kind of ficus. So,
There's a lot of
are we okay with any kind of ficus? Or does the city have a preference?
The code requires that if it's a heritage tree, and ficus is a heritage tree per our codes, that it's a like-for-like replacement. Now, I couldn't tell you as far as, what these are.
New-
These are the ones against the new
this
wall.
is for the hedge.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First of all, let me take a look at this situation. I can be better informed.
Okay, so it sounds like the best option is to continue this.
Yeah, so,
But I think this one meeting is, we won't take that one.
No, yeah, just continue to the next meeting.
Okay,
I don't know when that is.
who wants to make the motion?
I move that we continue this item to the next meeting, to the next
So,
commission meeting.
We don't have to
June 26th.
June 26th.
June 22nd. So,
26.
the applicant agree with the continuance?
I don't basically oppose to the continuance because the project has been going on and we can wait for a couple more weeks. I have one question though, that a couple of the members here asked about height of the wall. And from my understanding is that that is codified, we cannot have the wall higher than 4.
We could
But my
make it in the adjustment.
My question is that can we have a higher wall?
The,
That's not-
the question is whether there's a continuance and whether you accept the
Okay, we just-
continuance.
yeah, we just want to know if you want to continue this case.
Do I have choice? If I say no, you.
So
Well-
we want to continue, thank you.
But my answer, should I answer, or should I ask the staff at a later, another time?
Now you can talk to the
Sure.
staff after the
Okay.
meeting. Yeah, thank you. So,
I second the motion.
okay.
Do we have a motion? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I will continue. Yeah.
It's
Continue.
Okay.
Right?
Say-
Right. So, for those, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried. We'll continue this case to June 26th. Thank you. Let's go to agenda number 3. The staff report, Aldo,
Yes, thank you, Chair and members of the Planning Commission. We've had several, on really items 3 and 4, we've had several study sessions where we discuss the various provisions and language and intents of these 2 code sections. So on item 3, as related to living area, in this case balconies on second floors and requiring those to be counted as living space, is what staff is looking to proceed to the City Council. So as I mentioned, we've had several study sessions on this item, and at this point I'm looking for a formal recommendation to the City Council on this item.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the staff?
I think the wording is a little rough. But from the standpoint, I had to read it 3 or 4 times to get the meaning. Because I think that the original wording was inaccurate, or at least has been being changed from something that used to be. Anyway, I guess it's right now.
So what do we do? We just vote on this?
Yeah, just look for a motion.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve this audience?
Yes, I'll move to approve.
I'm not clear. Is that this after the motion, we have further discussion?
No.
Okay, now, only motions for a second.
We're just passing this on to council, right?
Yes. That's it.
Okay, I move that we pass this along to the council.
May I request that you hold off the motion? I have a question.
Oh, sure.
I have a discussion.
Right, go ahead.
Do you believe that this addresses the specific concern that the city council had?
So
Because
the
it still doesn't, to me, it didn't specifically address what they said. The intent of the ordinance was to reduce the second story massively, right?
Yes.
At the same time, alleviate the privacy concerns due to second floor opening structure, like a balcony looking into the neighbors. So if you have a balcony that's not roofed, that's not a living space, but that does not address the privacy concern. You can still step out and,
It's going to be counted as living space now.
not if it's on,
if it's
Yes, it is approved, yeah.
if it's,
Unroofed. The idea is so that they don't put up,
Balconies.
that's what I
I
found.
thought it excludes the unroofed floor areas.
Only when located on the first floor.
right.
So on the second floor is still, even if it's unroofed.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what, okay.
It's
Just
a
reverse the language.
it's an exclusion language.
Yeah.
It's very confusing, but that's
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so
But-
it
but-
still includes the second floor, even though you.
I think it says what it's supposed to, but it's just hard to.
But I wasn't reading it clearly.
Yeah.
English is my second language, you know,
Don't feel bad.
so. Okay, so it does address the concern that the council had. Okay, all right.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Now you
Go
can
ahead.
make the motion.
I don't know.
Consider it made.
Second.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have the motion and second. You guys, please say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 4.
So item 4 is very similar to item 3, where we had similar study sessions to discuss the provisions, what the code is intending to govern. And I believe at the last meeting, I provided an illustration on the smartboard as to really what the code provision would mean. And I did receive an informal approval at the last meeting, and I need a formal approval to take this to the city council.
I move that we approve this.
Wait a minute, just Jim.
Now you have.
I have a question. It seemed to me when we approached this that we were talking about an alley behind Roanoke.
No,
No. Between Cumberland and Huntington.
that alley.
Only that area.
You were not here at the last meeting when the lady
Thank you.
showed up. And we had a
Well, the ordinance doesn't specify a particular alley, but the way it's written, it really can only be applied to that particular area.
area.
In
That's the elevation.
reality,
Because
yeah.
That was what we were concerned about, was the 18 inches on the,
That's right.
Backs.
yeah, okay. Enough said.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Once again, I move.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Those agree, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 5.
Yes, thank you, Chair and members of the Planning Commission. The applicant for 2000 Huntington Drive, which is a CUP 17-27, 17-28, 17-29, DRC 1781, and DRC 1786 is requesting an extension of their entitlement. They need just a little bit more time to get through the building plan check process. They have submitted for the building permit. They are going through plan check process. It's just taking a little bit longer to get through that process. And so they are seeking additional time under the entitlement to really complete that process. And so they are close to getting permits.
So this means that they have until October 25th to pull the permit?
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
that's what I thought.
Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the extension of the conditional use permit number CUP 17-27, also CUP 17-28, and CUP 17-29, and the design review case number DRC 17-81, and design review case number 17-82 at 2000 Huntington Drive.
I'll second that.
Do I have a motion and second for those that
What kind of restaurants are gonna be?
Please say aye.
Aye.
Not sure yet.
Opposed? Motion carried. So item number 6.
I would recommend that we move to item 7. I don't see any of the reps for Da Vinci here.
Okay.
And so let's just deal with 7 and maybe they'll show up.
7 is.
I'd like to, that slate gray was almost blue, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Did you notice
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
I thought it was attractive, but it's a little off what we usually do.
Yeah, they will be.
All right, 7.
Yeah, item 7. Resolution, do I have a motion to approve?
So,
I second.
Those agree, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. So this is.
So we're gonna defer item number 6?
Yeah, let's just push it till next month. They're not here, so.
Okay. So-
We're done.
Were they notified to show up?
Yep.
They probably expected us to be less longer. They'll probably show up.
yeah.
We're adjourned.
Like, wait, we got that.
Thank you, Christine.
We're all
Thank you.
That's pretty good. 8:10, huh?
You guys remember